I found my wife was looking at a love horoscope for her and a guy from her ski group. She said she was just curious and the guy is one of the girls. But I am not buying it. Background: my 40M wife, 40F, is an avid skier. She tries to ski every chance she gets, and that is often multiple times a week. I'm very supportive of this as it seems like a good way for her to relieve herself of stress, and generally makes her happier. She's made multiple close friendships through this hobby, both male and female, and some weekends, they take ski trips to resorts out of town. I ski sometimes but am not an enthusiast, and this group wants to tackle a lot of challenging runs that I'm not capable of at my current skill level. Also, in the off-season, they do other activities to maintain their fitness. None of this has ever been a problem until recently. A few months ago, my wife went trail running with a guy, 45M, named Josh, who was new to the group. I didn't know she was going alone until after she came back. I found that a little unusual since she usually goes with a couple of her girlfriends and maybe one other guy. Also, she had never really done this activity before. The next thing that happened, which I thought was unusual, was when she had COVID and was isolating from me. She wanted to watch a movie on Amazon Prime, and I told her to bring me her laptop so I could take care of the two-factor authentication stuff. While I was using her laptop, she seemed cagey and agitated, and was hovering a little too close to me, considering we were supposed to be isolating. At this time, I noticed she was looking at a love horoscope for her sign and Josh's in one of her recently closed tabs. This didn't sit right with me, and I was stewing about it. My wife noticed and asked why I was upset, and I confronted her. She told me the horoscope thing was just a curiosity, and she looks it up for other people as well. I find this hard to believe. She offered me her phone to look through her messages, and I went through them. There were a lot of messages for a text chain that started only a couple of months ago. Probably more than we exchanged in the same period. Mostly, it was her sending him memes and friendly back and forth. To me, it seemed excessive, and it looked like she was going out of her way to keep a conversation going with Josh. There was also a provocative exchange she made that went something like this. Josh would do bad things for some lasagna. Wife: oh, like what? Laughing emoji. Josh: I don't know, steal it. Wife: laughing emoji. That's not what I was thinking. That's what I get when my mind is in the gutter. Josh: laughing emoji. To me, this looks like an unsuccessful attempt by her to escalate the conversation, but Josh, to his credit, didn't bite. When I saw this, I pointed it out, and she took the blame for it and said she shouldn't have sent that. I'm shaking and very upset by all of this. My wife claims he's just one of the girls, and she isn't attracted to him because he's short and just a good friend. All of this reminded me of an emotional affair/sexting situation that I went through with my wife 10 years ago. We've been married for 20 years. We got through that, and I was hoping that was behind us. In response to this, I set up 2 boundaries. 1. No more one-on-one events with Josh. 2. Avoid the one-on-one texting. There's not usually a reason to text one-on-one when the same type of content can be shared in a group text. The next week, she said 2 of her girlfriends canceled on an event, and she asked if it was okay if she went alone with Josh. I told her, obviously not, because that was a boundary I set, and she was annoyed with me for saying no. She met with her therapist, and her therapist largely agreed with my point of view, and she seemed to be less annoyed with me after that. I had been off and on depressed about all of this, and during that time, she would ask me if there was anything she could do, and I just asked her to follow the boundaries I've set. Cut to this last week. I asked her to check in on the boundaries I set. She admitted to texting with Josh again, and I asked to see her phone. There was a gap in the texting, but there were 6 or 7 consecutive days again with a lot of texting. Again, it's just benign texting, but it just seems kind of unnecessary. I don't know that we need 3 days around Christmas to text Merry Christmas and start a conversation. I don't think you need to tell your single guy friend goodnight in the evening. She says she was giving him a resource for some technical safety gear, and she started doing it again. I'm very upset again, and I tell her she was ignoring a clearly set boundary, and I'm not sure how we get past this as a couple. I find it really disrespectful and hurtful that she ignored this boundary, especially when she saw what it was doing to me. I found it very cruel. I talked to her about blocking contact with this person and ending the friendship so that we could move on. Considering that she already violated a clearly set boundary, I felt the need to escalate. She seemed open to that initially but was indignant about it later on. I've asked her to apologize for ignoring the boundary and disrespecting me and the marriage, promise she won't do it again, and outline some steps to ensure it won't happen again. She seems to think I'm setting up an ultimatum on friendship, but I just want a path forward I can be comfortable with. She says she wasn't doing this to be cruel. She doesn't seem all that sorry to me. She says she has a deep connection with Josh, but again, they're just friends. She doesn't want to end the friendship because she says she will be outside the core group of enthusiasts and the activities they set up. My position is that my wife is acting inappropriately and disregarding my feelings by ignoring the boundary. I believe my wife loves me, but I also think she has a crush on this guy and is kind of acting on it and downplaying it. Am I overreacting? Am I being unreasonable? What should I do? Update. The funny part before the rest, I had her read the original post to show how it looked to everyone. Her palm started to get so sweaty it left a stain on the laptop. She didn't have a lot to say about it except, wow, this is a lot to process. We set up a counseling appointment to work on things. The working solution we had was that she would tell me when they texted each other. My wife was following through with that, and I thanked her every time. I also told her if she slipped up in some way to just acknowledge it, not delete messages and whatnot. The counseling session was lame. The counselor seemed like he was on autopilot and just wanted to get to the Gottman books. We set up a couple of future appointments. She had a work trip coming up. We went skiing the day before, and I took her to the airport and kissed her goodbye. I texted her from time to time, and she would send pictures of the things she was seeing but seemed a little unresponsive. I figured she was just busy with everything going on. She never called me or our daughter. She would say she was taking a bath at the end of the night. I picked her up from the airport and brought her home, and she seemed distant. I had to ask for a hug. She went skiing the next day. Things felt weird, and I checked the phone bill, and lo and behold, she called Josh for an hour one night, then he called her 2 other nights for a couple of hours. I checked her Facebook. The messages from her friends were talking about how he tried to kiss her at some point. But they hadn't cut him out of the group in any way. Also, one of her friends told her to delete messages and call logs before coming home, as I might check them. These are all garbage people. I put her stuff in garbage bags and told her off when she got home. I told her she was a cheater, and the guy was a cheater, and they deserved each other. She didn't have much to say because she couldn't even come up with a bad lie. Filled her car up and left. I'm astounded at how morally bankrupt she is and how her friends are as well. I've met these people. They know who I am and that I'm a decent guy. I just can't imagine encouraging someone to hide immoral behavior. I asked her from the start of this mess if she wanted to exit the relationship, and she said she wanted to work things out. She saw how much pain it was causing me, and she kept doing it. You think you know people. I believe she was playing me and the guy off each other, hinting to him that our relationship wasn't solid, and maybe someday they could be a couple, while also trying to reconcile with me. She's a narcissist, and this was feeding her ego. The short term sucks because I'm stressed, and it's hurting my ability to sleep. Sorry if some of this doesn't make sense. I know I'll be better in the long run, but this sucks right now. It's pretty lame that she gets to shack up with this dirtbag, and I probably won't feel like dating for years. Anyway, once a cheater, always a cheater. Trust your gut. I should have told her to fuck off a long time ago. Hope I don't get destroyed in the divorce. Relevant comments. What was her excuse? Opie, she couldn't even make up a bad lie. Mostly stunned silence. Evidence too strong, and I didn't give her the chance to spin. Comment, that's awful, I'm so sorry. How could she do that to your daughter? How old is your daughter? Opie, 14.